Welcome to Talking Grit, a Detroit Lions podcast. Powered by the Monroe County Reporters. Here are your hosts, Jason Harwood and Jacob Litton.
Welcome to Talking Grit. I am Jason Harwood. With me, he's above me on my screen right now, is Jacob Litton. And we got a couple guests with us. We have the host of the POD cast, that is Meko Scott. And we have what I'm going to call the enforcer for POD. For anybody that talks out of line on Twitter or any sort of social media. Yep, that's right. Also from POD, we got Morgan Cannon back. Thanks, fellas, for joining.
No, man, thanks for having us. I think we're gonna have to actually get that, make that a thing, Morgan. I think we might have to make you the official enforcer of the staff.
No, man, I'm supposed to be doing better, and when that happens, Jeremy will put in the Slack. He'll be like, "Morgan's having a bad day." It makes me laugh every time because I'm like, yeah, I slipped up a little bit, but yeah, glad to be here, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's great. I always know when someone says subs, a lot of times it's Woodward Sports, but sometimes it's other people too, and you'll put them on blast, and I like it, and it's always gives me enjoyment. And sometimes Jacob will text me and say, "Hey, did you see Morgan's comment or whatever?" And they'll be like, "I got to check it out." All right.
It's always just trolls on Twitter, and it's like, "Oh man, Morgan's going in on this guy."
Man, I just you guys make good content. I think we at POD make good content. My big thing is if you're educating a little bit or providing entertainment, cool. But I won't get into it. But if your shtick is the same old, no matter what, then I don't know. It's just not good to me. It's not making fans smarter, and it's bad. So yeah.
Right. Got to click on things. So, Meko, we haven't talked to you since you've become the host over at PODcast. So, first of all, congratulations. Was so happy for you that when that all went down. So how's that going for you? And any good stories to share? Seeing stuff behind the scenes now.
First of all, thank you. It's been awesome being able to do the main podcast, and obviously we also started a secondary podcast through Pride of Detroit as well that Morgan and I are kind of co-hosting, and we were able to have Brandon Knapp on and Max Gerber as a couple of guests this season, just kind of doing a preview podcast. So it's been awesome being able to take on more of a responsibility and to kind of help out in that way. So it's something that I'm very grateful to Ryan and Jeremy and Eric for as well, for all kind of feeling like I would be a good fit for that role. Fun stories. I think just every podcast is an adventure of its own. If you guys have had a chance to check out our live streams, it's always something. One week and so I think this past week, we had a pretty good time with Jeremy, because Jeremy just kind of had a couple of weird phrases, and it's it was just really kind of wild at the start of Black History Month for some of the things that he was kind of letting fly. So we gave him a little bit of a hard time for that. I think the week before, I didn't see Jeremy do a countdown, so the podcast started and I had no clue that we were live. So it's always an adventure. But I think, like I said, I think the best thing is one, being able to do the podcast in general and interact with our audience, but working alongside Jeremy and Ryan has been awesome. And I think it's been a really cool way of just seeing how they see the game and being able to really provide a different view of again, the team that we all love. And I think we all do it in a really unique way that complements one another.
Yeah. It's good. And you peddle that beef jerky so well too. I mean, you're just excellent at that.
Hey man, that's all the credit to Righteous Felon. If they didn't make a good product, I wouldn't know how to sell it. So shout outs to them.
We're not making any money off Righteous Felon, so you could I'll cut that out. No. Jacob, you haven't talked yet, man. How you been?
I've been good, man. Busy basketball season with Milo, 3rd and 4th grade basketball. Just busy times. It's almost over. Only a couple weeks left, so
yeah.
I'm sure at this point in the season, all the kids are over it. So there's no LeBrons out there.
Hey man, it's early. You never know. Man. I was gonna say it's third and fourth grade. You never know. Someone could really like hit their stride in like fifth grade.
Right. Not in third and fourth. No, it's just getting them to pay attention. And practice usually goes really well, but then as soon as the games start, and there's everybody's in the stands, everything like that. It's like I'm telling them to set screens and stuff like that. Like, what do you mean? I don't know. Like they forget that they can't pick up the ball and keep going. You gotta have a lot of patience, man.
Everybody's trying to make a play for their mom. All right, let everybody make a nice play so that mom can say that they did a good job at the end of it.
Yes, absolutely.
Jacob's trying to coach, so he gets invited to the NBA All-Star game. Be like, my third grade coach. It all started there. My love of basketball.
Hey, I've been coaching a lot of kids for a long time. One of them one day might make it.
So, Meko, Morgan, you guys probably obviously don't know Jacob as well as I do. He is at work. He was one of the most patient people I've ever met as far as be able to remain calm with both the public and his coworkers. So I imagine he carries that patience with third and fourth graders. So it's a very good asset to have.
I can't be throwing the clipboard in third grade. I got to hold it together.
You can't be the Tom Izzo of like third and fourth graders.
Right.
It builds character.
Yeah,
it's funny. I have the clipboard. I've got the clipboard. I drop the plays. Like, this is what I want it to look like. Doesn't look anything like what I imagined, and I just have to let it be. Like, you know what? I tried.
Yep. Oh, that's coming for you, Morgan. He's got little one at home. It's coming.
I've helped a little bit with, I think the youngest we got though was like fifth and sixth grade, and we wouldn't yell, but like we would get after them boys a little bit, like football wise. So, but yeah, I know it'll be there, and I will say the patience is growing for me, except for I guess on Twitter, as it were.
Yes, the enforcer status.
Right. It's different with the kids.
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah, I definitely want to see that title, Meko. I want to hear about it, and then just give Talking Grit some credit. When that comes with the official title comes in, you can maybe sponsored by Talking Grit or something. All right, guys, we wanted to do an award show, and I didn't want to do a boring award show where we just go through and who's the MVP, who's that. So we are going to do a Talking Grit special here. Something we come up brand new this year. We're giving awards away. We named them after famous movie quotes or movie characters just to give it a little bit of fun. And I really put the POD guys to work. I gave them like a 2-page Google Doc, and we'll see how prepared they are. Right, Jacob?
Right? I guess. I got to be prepared too. You sprung this on me as well.
I know. It was an idea I came up with this weekend. I just had to do it. So let's start out with
It's a great idea. Great idea.
Right.
I also can tell which quotes you forced in here, but I'll wait until, when they come up, I'll let you guys know.
Oh, that's fine. Well, when we go through these quotes, I don't know how many there's in here, but maybe 2 of them you did. The rest of I did all the work. So,
right.
If you want to make fun of me, while you sit and coach
the 2 that I did were from 2000 plus, the newest ones.
I know. Yeah, this first one's from you. I wanted to work this in, but you suggested, so I got to get in there. So the first award is that escalated quickly award from Anchorman. It is for the team this year in the NFL that exceeded expectations. I have 4 different answers on here. I'm gonna start with you, Jacob, since you came up with this category. I don't know if you had multiple choices or if there's just one clear cut for you. Go ahead.
For me in this one, I just think that this is the Patriots. For where they were last year, obviously Vrabel coming back and everything, but the trajectory that Drake May took and the team in general, obviously now they're playing for a Super Bowl. I think the turnaround was way quicker than anybody expected. So that was actually like who I had in mind when I said that escalated quickly, is I just think that they went from the bottom to the top very quickly.
Yeah. Morgan, you're shaking your head. It sounds like you agree. You got anybody else, or is that your answer too?
No, but I like the Pats pick because that is such a good point about where they were. A year or 2 ago, it was 180 what they did. So props to them. I'm gonna go with the Jags though, just because I know it's the AFC South. People are gonna be like, "Yeah, it's that division," but man, like everyone was clowning that, and maybe we need to stop, reading too much into opening press conferences from these head coaches because what. Liam Cohen did that. He did that like off key. He was like, Duval.
Jason does a really good one.
Yeah,
It
because
was
I'm super awkward, so I'm really good at
Jason
it.
doesn't have to try. He just does it that way. It sounds perfect.
he said it so off pitch, and no, I'm sure like all of Duval County was probably like, oh my God, man, what is this man doing? But then look, and they had some weird games. Like they had that game I remember watching in a hotel room. I was traveling for work when Trevor Lawrence fell and then ended up getting up and scoring. Like it was against the Chiefs. So I'm gonna go with the Jags just because it was a fun journey, even though it didn't result in the most postseason success. But yeah, where you at, Miko?
I'm actually gonna go with I don't think anyone's gonna like this, but I do think this award fits them perfectly, and that's gonna be the Chicago Bears. I think when we looked at Ben Johnson taking over that team, like we knew that they would be better, but to go from literally like last place in the NFC North to first place and almost being in contention for the number 1 seed in his rookie year as a head coach, like I think the Bears drastically got to where we thought they could eventually get to, but just way faster than we thought it would look like. Yeah, there and for sure there was some wackiness, there was some craziness with some of their games, and obviously it became kind of a meme where it's like, okay, they can't keep getting away with this type of stuff.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, like no matter how it happens, a win is a win. And they were able to do that more often than not. And that's how they were able to have the type of season that they did. So yeah, I would give it to the Chicago Bears for this one. What about you, Jason?
Oh man, I'm wrapping my head around how you brought the Bears up right now. That's that. No, you're right, Miko. I just don't want to say it. But I went with the four four of us and four different teams. I'm going with the Seahawks, getting the number 1 seed, going to the Super Bowl, bringing in Sam Darnold. I was thinking, what after the way Sam Darnold ended the previous season? What are they doing? They traded Geno Smith away, and boy, they got the defense playing well, and Sam Darnold and JSN lit it up. So I go with the Seahawks, but the only other team that I think could fall in there is the Broncos getting the number 1 seed coming up and overtaking the Chiefs. That was a good one, but I liked your Jaguars answer because another thing that with the Jaguars, Morgan, is their number 2 overall pick got hurt halfway through the season, and they still won the division. So
Yeah.
you know
It
didn't
speaks
go far in the playoffs, but
Yeah, I mean, he won 13 games though. Like, and was that
Mhm.
this was Cohen's first year too? Was it
Yeah.
head
Yeah.
coach? Something. Yeah, I agree with Miko though. Like, it does. You got to give Ben Johnson props, even if the way they won was like somewhat fluky for the majority of the year. It's still, no, that's how tough it is in the NFL. And the answers to this question kind of speak to why the NFL is king, man. The parity, like just year to year, like all the swings, and your team could do it. Like, so yeah, that's what it got me thinking about.
Nice. All right. Category number 2 or award number 2 is the "We are going to need a bigger boat" award for the team that underperformed. Their boat was sinking due to the pressure of the season or whatnot. Miko, I'm going to start with you on this one. What team do you have that they underperformed?
I'm gonna go with the Chiefs, and I think it would be easy to go with the Lions, but I think there's a lot of things to like consider when it comes to the Lions. Of like injuries started piling up fairly quickly, and things started to kind of go downhill. But when you look at the Chiefs, it just never looked like it was like on good strong legs to begin with. Like it was like a baby giraffe from like jump. And then like it got to a point where they're like, oh no, Rashee Rice is gonna come back. So we're gonna get better and things are gonna start clicking. And then it didn't. And then Patrick Mahomes tears his ACL. And then it just like all fell apart. And it's a team that you're so used to being the standard of the AFC, the team that has been to the Super Bowl more than any other team in the AFC over the last couple of years since, Patrick Mahomes has been in the league. It was really like uncharacteristic to see it fall apart the way it did. And there wasn't like a clear cut thing to point to until Patrick went down with his injury. And then it was like, okay, well, yeah, there's no Mahomes, so they're going to have a really hard time winning. But even before then, like it didn't look good by any stretch of the imagination, Morgan.
Mhm.
No, I would say the peak of their season was beating the Lions. That's when, Chiefs Twitter was my
Mhm.
mentions were on fire because I had made the joke about Patrick Mahomes' voice, and I didn't even tag anybody or nothing, and it was ablaze for several days there, bro. So no, I'm gonna agree with you because I'm a hater. I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. I loved watching that a lot, like just in the Swifties and everything. I'm not even a Taylor Swift hater like that. I don't really care, but just to see it all burn and for a year, it felt pretty good, pretty gratifying. So yeah, I'm gonna stay in line with Meko there.
All right, Jacob, what you got?
I'm actually going to go with the Ravens for this one. Somebody else who, you really thought they were going to be contending for the AFC, and theirs though was like right from the jump. They started off 1-5, like nothing was going right for them. Lamar battling the injury and everything like that, and then it was just like an up and down season. It just never felt right for the Ravens. And then obviously it culminated with that, field goal mishap against the Steelers. And then now Harbaugh's gone and the Ravens are starting over. So, too little, too late.
Yeah, that didn't even cross my mind when I was coming up with my 4 that I put on here, Jacob. But that's a great answer. I really like that one. I'm going just because I'm a spiteful human being. I'm going with the Commanders, and it's not because probably is they knocked us out previous year, right? But they were like gone from the get go, and then it just looked really bad, and they looked really old, like really, really, really fast, and for a team that maybe with having the rookie quarterback on the rookie contract, they went all in last. I won't say all in, but the Debo Samuel trade, them getting Von Miller. It's like they're trying to just push themselves over the edge. They made the NFC Championship the year before, and I know we're in the same boat that we didn't make the playoffs, but they were out way, way before us. So like they really fell. Like their boat sunk quickly. So that's why I'm going with the Commanders on that one. The Colts are the only other one that I had listed on there, and just because they started out so good, and then they fell off a cliff. So like their boat like just crashed.
Yeah.
Quick.
But see, like, I wouldn't even necessarily say that's like we need a bigger boat situation. Like the
Yeah.
Colts found themselves in a like, hey, we have a leak and we don't have a proper plug.
Plug.
Like
Yeah,
they just,
right.
you know what I'm saying? Like Daniel Jones was playing so well, and that was a big part of why they were playing well. Like, yes, Jonathan Taylor was having a fantastic season as well, and is clearly in the running for Offensive Player of the Year. But it was that tandem of like your defense was playing well, you had a good running game, and you had a really like sustainable passing attack. And once they became basically one dimensional and tried to, resurrect the corpse of Phillip Rivers to kind of help them win a couple games, which they still came very close to winning a few of those, they just didn't have the talent to kind of push them over the edge. And it kind of caught them at a bad time because like Houston started playing really well down the stretch. Like we talked about with the last award, Jacksonville was playing really well. So it's just like it was more of just like a bad circumstance type of situation.
Jason, I'm happy you said the Commanders. Meko, I don't do this often. What did I say all off season? What was I saying?
I was
Slack?
going to say,
What
I was surprised you
saying?
said Chiefs because you were dead
I was
set on
saving
this
it.
one. Like from the minute the time the Lions got bounced, you were just like, that team's not going to be good next year.
Well, I was being a hater then, but then I saw their offseason and I was like, this is gross. And then I got killed on Twitter for that too. Me and shout out my boy, Coach Papa John, if you see him on Twitter, because we were like going back and forth. I'm like, this is disgusting. This team would have been good in like 2019. But yeah, so that was good to see. I actually made a good amount of money off of that because I hate under bet their like win total. I think it was 7.5, and I was like, give me that, son. So shout out to the Commanders. That was a good pick, Jason.
All right, thanks. All right, I'm gonna let Jacob go next on this one because I don't know about you, Morgan and Meko, about the Harry Potter, but I know this is Jacob's bag, so he's got to go first in this category. For the next set of categories, we're gonna have a Lions winner and then a league winner. So this award is the You're a Wizard, Harry award for the player that just came out of nowhere. Who do you got for the Lions and then the league, Jacob?
All right. Lions player, I had 2, but one of them, it feels wrong saying that he came out of nowhere. And so the kind of answer that I had was JMO, right? But I mean, for us that followed and seen in training camp and everything, we kind of expected this type of season. So that felt like too easy of an answer for that. So I had to dive a little deeper, and I went with Thomas Harper. We didn't think Kirby was going to get hurt. We didn't know we were going to have to rely on this guy to start 9 games, but I think he did a really good job holding it down, right? I mean, he lessened the blow. Obviously, Kirby, huge factor in the pass game with the interceptions and everything like that. And Harper was not able to, replicate that. But I think he held his own and did surprisingly well. It wasn't like there was a massive hole where Kirby was. Harper, did his job. Like he plugged in, he played well, he gave it everything that he had, and he did a serviceable job. And I think that, that warrants coming out of nowhere to make an impact.
What you got for the league, Jacob?
The league, so another one that's kind of off the wall. I didn't want to pick a common thing here. I went with Antonio Johnson, and he's a safety for the Jaguars. This guy, so not a lot of people know. I didn't know too much about him either, but so he got first place votes. He didn't make All Pro, but he got some first place votes on the All Pro team. He's Pro Football Focus #1 safety. Last year, he was ranked 96th out of 97. So he went literally from the bottom of the rankings to the top, playing the same amount of snaps, but obviously the Jaguars defense just took it to the next level, and he was a big part of that. And he made a huge impact, and really came out of nowhere. He was unheard of. It's like a 5th-round draft pick, potential All-Pro player this year.
All right, getting deep, Jacob. Wow. All right, Meko. Lions and then the league player.
Yeah, so for the Lions player, I think I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit here, and I'm going to just say Jack Campbell. Jack has been trending up, since his rookie year, but I think if you would have told me like, hey, Jack's going to get his first Pro Bowl and his first All-Pro in the same season, I don't know if I would have like necessarily saw that coming. I would have thought it was possible, but it's just like the linebacker spot in the NFL, like for the most part, stays pretty set. Like Fred Warner is one of the top guys, in the NFC. And then maybe like that number 2 spot like fluctuates quite a bit, right? But like there seems to be like a staple for who that guy is. But the performance that we saw from Jack, literally from beginning to end, and I don't know if we started like our award series over on Pride of Detroit, but like I pretty much said this like in my writing of Jack Campbell, of like Jack was probably the most consistent player that we had all season on defense. Like there's not too many moments that you can look back on the season and be like, oh, Jack was out of place, or Jack made a bad read, or Jack missed a tackle. He was literally rock solid. And so it went from like, oh, you have a nice, linebacker that could like that's slowly improving, to like, no, like you have a wizard at that position right now. Like the only thing that Jack still has yet to prove or be able to do consistently at this level is create turnovers in the pass game. Like the minute he starts getting a couple interceptions, it's a wrap for the league, in my opinion, when it comes to Jack Campbell.
Like it. All right, who you got for the league, Meko?
I'm gonna go with Tyler Shuck, the quarterback out of New Orleans. I know he didn't play a ton, but like, and I'm not going to act as if like I followed New Orleans a ton, because obviously they were not very good this year. They had a number of different issues. But the reason this came to mind was because I saw ESPN had done like, I think it was ESPN that did like their redraft for the most recent NFL draft, and they had Tyler Shuck going second. And I was like, that's a hell of a take, considering this is a dude that went in the second round, but clearly has done enough to win over that franchise for them to at least believe that like, hey, he might be the guy going forward. Obviously, what you do in your rookie season is great, but you got to be able to build upon that going forward. But I think what he was able to do this past year is at least enough to give that organization some confidence that, all right, at least you don't have to draft one this year. You don't have to go back to the well and continue to look for a quarterback to kind of steer your offense going forward.
I like it. All right, Morgan, you're up.
Some good picks, guys. I'm going to keep it in the Lions secondary for my first one, Rock Ya-Sin. And Rock Ya-Sin's been a pro, been around for a while. Like if you've paid attention, and just to the draft cycle when he came out, and then he's been productive, but he was huge because the Lions' depth got tested, and he, was he perfect? No, but off the bench, man, and they had him do a lot. He moved around. So yeah, Rock there. And then my league, I hate to say it, similar to what Meko said earlier, but Monangai from Chicago, that kid runs hard. I don't know what they got in the running backs room at Rutgers with him and Pacheco, but that's a bowling ball full of knives if I've ever seen it. Like it's just a terrible, you don't want to tackle that kind of a runner. So yeah, that would be my 2 picks for the You're a Wizard Harry award.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right. For Lions, I'm going with El Quadri Muhammad, 11 sacks. I mean, I don't think any of us saw that coming from training camp. I mean, we're talking a guy that was a roster bubble guy coming into training camp, and then to come in and Jacob and I talked about it a lot. Like, didn't get enough snaps this year, and still managed to get 11 sacks. So that I got to go with AQM on that. And then Miko, I'm with you. Tyler Shrug shouldn't, like, he had no business having any amount of success with the Saints. Like, I just, they don't have the team there, and Kellen Moore's first year as a head coach down there, I did not expect much, but he made them competitive when he got in there, and at least that gave them hope. So that's a great pick, and that's where I'm going with too. All right. Now, Jacob said, I was going to have to put a Rambo quote in here, and here it is. They Drew First Blood Award for the biggest revenge moment. Morgan, we're going to start with you, both with Lions and the league on this one. So the biggest revenge moment this season.
Yeah, week 2, man. We had that loss. Everyone was like, "Oh no!" And then they just drummed Chicago at home, like 50 burger. Dan rubbed his nose in it. Really, both wins in Chicago, but I don't want to steal anyone else's thunder if they want to pick Week 18. So I thought that was nice because that was some revenge. Even though the season didn't go the way we wanted, finishing in the positive for the 4th year in a row and beating Ben for the 2nd time was pretty good. And then my obvious one, man, Sam Darnold, just because the season didn't end well for him. Obviously, the game against the Lions and then the playoff loss, but man, looking pretty okay now. I guess an elite defense and proper structure will do that for you, but he's got to be feeling good.
Yep, I like it. All right, Miko.
I'm gonna cheat here because I think mine's for the league and the Lions are gonna be it's gonna be the same one, and it's
go ahead.
Week 10 against the Commanders. Not only did you get your get back from the team that kicked you out of the playoffs, you didn't make it look competitive. That game was, I think it was Dan's first game, taking over play calling duties, and he made sure that everyone kind of knew that the Lions didn't forget. And it's one of the things that I think, again, it's one of the things that fans love about Dan and love about this team is that they typically do get their get back against teams that they don't perform well against. And so, yeah, I'm gonna cheat a little bit because I mean, honestly, there's a couple of revenge games that are on here that are specifically the Lions that I could have said, but I'm gonna stick with Lions Commanders.
I like it. All right, Jacob, on you, man.
Yeah, my Lions one was the same as Morgan. Just week 2 against Ben Johnson. Everything happened in Green Bay. We've been hearing all about how we were missing Ben Johnson, and some fans had already started to hit the panic button just after week 1. So it was nice for week 2 to just come out and blow them away. I've got a couple for the league, so I'm gonna let you go first, Jason, just so I can go over mine if you don't pick any of these. I don't want to steal your thunder.
All
just
right.
in case you dug deep and have some of these good ones, I'll let you say it first.
I didn't dig deep. I'm totally.
I know you didn't. I just want.
Yeah, I'm lame.
You get your basic answer out of the way so I can talk more.
I like it. Cool. All right. Nice. For the Lions, of course, the Ben Johnson thing. It's just like the easy answer, and I think that that's the correct answer. However, I will say beating the Ravens on Monday Night Football felt so good. And I, after getting drummed 2 seasons before, thought we were coming into our own and then just get pummeled. And then to go on Monday Night Football and part of it was also Dave Montgomery played so well in that game. Just it was our offensive line looked really good. It's probably the best game that our offensive line looked the whole season. It just looked so good. So I say the Ben Johnson thing, but I did get really good feelings from taking it to the Ravens and winning on Monday night. All right, for the league, I got 3 here, Jacob, but I'm gonna go. The most recent one is Cooper Kupp getting past the Rams and get into the Super Bowl. He had some catches in the game. I didn't look up his stats to see what he did, but just the fact that he was basically pushed out with the Rams. They got Devontae Adams. He stays in the division, and then his team beats he beats his old team to get into the Super Bowl. So I'm going to stick with the Cooper Kupp factor on there. Although I did like Rico Dowdle getting 183 yards versus the Cowboys in week 6. Sorry. So what do you got, Jacob?
That's 2 of my 3. You said you had a third one, right?
I got a third one, but my third one's kind of weak sauce. But you want me to tell you, or you gotta say?
You're doing them in order of that I had them. So I want your third one just so I can see.
Okay. My third one is just Micah Parsons getting a sack against the Cowboys week 4 after, getting traded out of there. And plus it's nice, seeing the Cowboys get drummed even though it was with the Packers, but because I still don't get that move trading them out of there. So Jacob, what's your third one
Well,
that you
so
got?
I had the first one I had was the Rico Dowdle thing. So the Cowboys, didn't want to re-sign him. They let him go. He goes to Carolina to be a backup, and then Chuba Hubbard gets hurt, and then he goes off for 200 yards, in his first game. So then he sets himself up with this revenge game against the Cowboys, and then the Panthers beat the Cowboys. He's got like over 200 all-purpose yards and a touchdown. So, I mean, that was just for him, ultimate revenge. Second one I had was also Cooper Kupp. I'm sure that was just a great feeling to be able, to beat your old team that kind of kicked you off to the side. Now you're going to the Super Bowl and they're not. But then the third one that I have is actually the Bears versus Packers in the wild card game. And just, not to give the Bears props. I don't like doing that. But, it was also fun to watch the Packers collapse and, get kind of a heartbreak there in the playoffs. And I think Jason said it before, like, in these Bears games, it's just like things happen. Like they just don't look like they belong. They are getting blown away, and then things happen. Something happens, and all of a sudden, there they are, right back in towards the end. And then, for them to upset the Packers and beat them, obviously we didn't want either of them to win, but it turned out pretty well.
All right. I like it. All right, man, that's crazy. We were on the same page on two of those. Good job. All right, the Groundhog Day Award we've seen this story over and over again. So first with the Lions, go ahead, Jake. I'm gonna let you lead us off here. Do the Lions and then the league.
For the Lions, I have the refs throw a flag for illegal formation on the Jared Goff catch versus the Chiefs. We think it's good. Couple minutes go by. It's like the Taylor Decker 2-point thing all over again. They're talking for a really long time, and all of a sudden, nope, there's a flag. It doesn't count. And then obviously all the controversy surrounding it where they say it came from New York, but then New York says, no, it didn't come from us. It was from the field and blah, blah, blah. Didn't make us feel any better about it. But, us as Lions fans see that all the time, right? Either just new rules being discovered for the first time in Lions games or being enforced in ways we didn't think were possible. So, that was the first one that I had. The other for the league, though, I have, which is also, with the Lions, but just the Cowboys and Lions game in week 14. Because, we were coming off a loss. The Cowboys are coming off a win. The Cowboys have a chance to run the table and actually make the playoffs. And, a lot of talk about their defense, a lot of talk about their team and how they might actually be able to do it. And then we beat them 44-30. And then they lost the next 4. They went 1-4, to miss the playoffs again, which is typical for the Cowboys.
Yep, I like it. All right, Morgan, I'll put you up on the spot here.
All right, so Lions, I'm going to go Panay just because I got to get my guy in there. Panay Sewell, all pro again. So just we're trending towards gold jacket. I don't say that too early. It's not something I just throw around, but I mean, my guy's on like an Anthony Munoz trajectory, knocking on wood for everybody involved. But yeah, so Panay, just because I know he said he didn't have his best season by his standards, like in the, end of the season media, but that's just because that man's standards are so lofty. And then the league, dude, it sucks to say, but the Joe Burrow thing's getting kind of sad. The Bengals are kind of a trash bag.
Yeah.
Dog, like the nasty organization. I think Joe Burrow's really good. I don't think he's, I'm not putting him in like the Josh Allen, Lamar, Mahomes when he's healthy tier. That might make me, I don't know, people say that's wrong, but I just don't think he's that gifted like he is, but they are, excuse me. But yeah, the Joe Burrow situation's kind of getting sad. He kind of seemed apathetic. He's like, I mean, if this isn't fun, what am I doing this for? I'm like, brother, it's like week 14. You should probably strap in.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's a good answer. I didn't even think of
It's
going
not
that
fun when
angle.
you're not winning.
No, man. Yeah. Respect.
All right, Miko, what you got?
So for the Lions, I'm gonna go week 7 Lions versus Bucks. Just because I'm kind of tired of seeing this matchup. Like, I feel like we've seen the Buccaneers so much. It's become the Seattle Seahawks Lions matchup over the last couple of years, where it's like you just keep seeing this team on repeat. And so yeah, obviously the Lions were able to get that win, but it like going into that game, it was just like I think Morgan, even when we previewed it, like we kind of knew what this game was going to be. It was going to be tough defensively, even though I think Baker Mayfield was missing a couple weapons offensively, and I think Mike Evans went out of that game with a concussion after like a deep incompletion. And from that point on, like they didn't really have any teeth, but it was just the simple fact that it was still a tough, like hard fought game. I think the Lions still only won that game 24-9. So it wasn't like it was a crazy blowout. And that's kind of what it's been the last few years whenever these two teams meet. Like it's physical, it's competitive. So yeah, it's definitely feels like something that's just like happened, like we've been here before every time these two teams meet. Um, for the league, I did have a different answer, but uh Morgan, you triggered something in my memory when you brought up the name Josh Allen. And I'm gonna go with Josh Allen not making the Super Bowl. I feel like that has become like a staple in the NFL right now. Like everything was kind of lined up for him to kind of take the Bills to the Super Bowl this year. No Patrick Mahomes, no Lamar Jackson, kind of it just seemed like it was going to be an easy road there, and they once again kind of fall short. Part of it is like on some poor decisions by him and things of that nature, but it's just like it just kind of feels like again like we've seen this story before whenever it comes down to number 17 in Buffalo.
Yeah, great answer.
And now they're
so
moving
for the
on from their
Lions, I'm
head
going to go
coach.
with
Sorry, now they're moving
Yeah.
on from their head coach, and their offensive coordinator is now going to be the head coach. So, tell me how that's going to be different.
it was
It's going
all
to be
on
a younger
emotion.
version. It's like it's a recast, Jacob. Like it's a
Yeah.
reboot, but it's just like a recast. It's like a lot of the same people, but just one new face.
Yeah.
That's another messy operation for like with a really good, like I think Josh Allen's awesome and he's not faultless. Like he had some ugly, periods of play down the stretch there, but he also, I mean, I heard he was on crutches now. Like he had some sort of procedure on his foot that he was kind of playing through and aggravated in the playoff game. But yeah, like the whole thing with the owner he was like, well, that was the coaching staff's pick. And then there was like all these quotes people pulled from Hard Knocks where Brandon Beane's like, well, hopefully we can get him. I'm like, oh, bro, you guys kind of look messy right now.
Yeah.
Messy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was an owner that went, it's just, totally emotion the next day after a playoff loss and just,
Yeah.
made that decision and start behind the eight ball. So, yeah. All right. My for the Lions, I'm going with just the injuries. We saw this story last year, and then we see it again. Didn't like the first version, and I didn't like the second version. It it ended even messier this year. So I'm going with the injuries. I like Jacob's answer, the refs, just us learning a new facet of uh, you know of how the refs call this. The Lions seemingly different, and we learn new things. But as far as the league, I'm gonna go with uh Jackson Dart, and not necessarily him, but it's a young QB coming in and thinking that he could just play reckless and not realizing that the NFL is like a man's game, and you have to change the way you're going to play, or you're not going to be on the field. So that's just we've seen it. Young QBs come out, have a good game, and then think they could just take chances, not run out of bounds, and yeah, then they get concussions, and then they get their coach fired because he goes into the concussion tent and checks on his player. So I've seen this so many times with young QBs coming in and then thinking that they're invincible, and they're not. So that's the story that I got. All right, next one is the Yo Adrian Award for the biggest underdog story of the season. Miko, let's start with you. Go with the Lions and then the league.
Oh man. So for the actually, I'm gonna go in reverse order. I'm gonna go with the league first. Um, this might be weird, but I'm going to pick the Patriots, and I think it goes back to the idea of like kind of them like exceeding expectations. Like I don't think anybody started the season was like, oh, like this Pats team is going to like win, is going to be in the Super Bowl this year. Um, I was talking to someone about this earlier. Like, I think when you look at their roster, you're like, oh, they have some good pieces, but like no one blows you away. Like no one is like, oh, that dude is like or that team is just stacked full of talent from top to bottom. Drake May is very talented. Christian Gonzalez is very talented. Ramondre Stevenson, very talented. But like, I just think that they found a way of really kind of being a team that I think if you looked at them on paper, you'd be like, oh, this is a decent team. And they've turned that into a Super Bowl appearance. So I think, like, for me, that's a team that I would give it to, give this award to. And as far as the Lions are concerned, man, it's really kind of hard to say because I feel like it just wasn't a good year for someone where you're like, oh, that dude like kind of defied the odds. But if I had to give it to anyone, he's gonna get a second award here, I guess, on this show, and I'm gonna give it to Rock Ya-Sin because I think, once again, kind of like what Morgan alluded to earlier, Rock was somebody that you've seen being a little bit of a journeyman across the league. He was somebody that I was very high on during the draft process, and it was something where it's like, hey, if he can, if he gets on the field, like hopefully he can show well. And he did just that, right? Like he, again, not the biggest guy, not the fastest guy, not the most talented per se. But went in there and played admirably to the point where you're like, oh, we lost this game because of Rock Ya-Sin. Like, no, Rock went out there and played at a high level. And I'm gonna just, now that I'm saying his name so many times, it also fits with the movie. So like we're gonna go with that too.
Yeah.
Nice. I like it. All right, Jacob, I'll throw it to you.
All right. So for the Lions, I actually went with Roy Lopez on this one. Just because, we assigned him to a 1-year deal. We didn't expect a whole lot out of him, just kind of a role player to see what we have. And I thought he exceeded expectations, right? I mean, like he made his presence known when he was out there. He was on a lot of plays, pushing center back into the quarterback. So yeah, he wreaked havoc at times. So I went with Roy Lopez for the Lions. It was also hard for me to really pick an underdog, like Meko said, there's not really anybody that stood out that was like, completely did a 180 or, came out of nowhere, I guess. For the league, though, you mentioned Jackson Dart a minute ago. I'm going to go with Cam Scattaboo. So the running back for the Giants, he's a 4th-round pick, kind of semi-popular name just because of the way that he played. But you didn't expect him to make much of an impact. And, he came out on fire. Like, every single play, he's giving it everything he has. Unfortunately, the way that he plays, running backs that play like that typically don't last long. But, you thought it was going to be like concussion or something like that, just, helmet to helmet. He ends up getting like a freak ankle injury, so he didn't get to play, but half the year, I think. He still scored 3 touchdowns in a game. He gave the Giants a little bit of hope. Not somebody that I would necessarily say is going to be a great player going forward, but I think it was a cool story for him for his rookie season to do what he did.
I like it. All right, Morgan, who you got?
For the Lions, I'm going to go Tom Kennedy because that man just won't go away. Like, it's just like he had that little stretch where he had to play and he made some plays. Like a couple of those catches he had up the seam, and just dependable. And he's been around for I feel like forever now. So shout out to Tom Kennedy. And then for the league, man, not in the same vein. Like this is more of like a montage where Rocky's just getting the what beat out of him. But Cleveland, man, I just feel like how do you get out from under that? Like so many people withdrew their like. A lot of the coaching candidates were like, you know what? Actually, I'm good from this consideration, and it's just kind of this is a mess, man. You got Myles Garrett posting funny like things on Instagram, but I'm bothered by that. I'm like, you took all that money, dude, and now you're like, oh, we suck. Oh, what am I gonna do? I'm like, you knew they sucked. It's okay. Generational wealth is a good thing, my man. So, yeah. Cleveland, just because I feel bad and they deserve better.
All right. For my Yo Adrian Award, I'm going Rock Ya-Sin, I think is the answer for the Lions. Although I'm going to give a shout out to Nick Whiteside just because we didn't expect anything from him. And, and then he got precedence of action in that Bucks game that you talked about earlier, Meko. Had a really fine game in that, really fine game for that, for us to get that win. So, I'll throw Nick out there for that. And then for the league, I feel like I'm cheating on this one, but I'm almost going to say, I know it's the biggest underdog. Sorry. Sam Darnold had a really good season with the Vikings, but he ended disastrously. And then no one expected him or the Seahawks to do anything. So I'm going with Sam Darnold. Even though he threw for 4,000 yards the year before, I think the way he ended and what the expectations going into the season, no one expected anything from him, let alone get into the Super Bowl. So I'm gonna go with Sam on that one. Is that okay, Jacob, or is that a cop out?
No, that's a good pick. It's all right.
All right, good. I thought you'd give me some crap on that one.
No,
All
not
right.
on that one.
We're gonna let you start out on this one, Jacob, because this is, I know, your favorite movie. The I'm the King of the World award for the favorite play of the season. So you thinking of Rose on the holding on the door in Titanic. So I'm gonna let you go first.
I've
First
actually
line.
So just if we're going to talk about movies, I've never seen Titanic. I remember that it came out, like my parents had it on videotape, and it was 2 videotapes because it was so long.
Yeah.
And there's boobs in that movie. That's all I remember. So
Yes, there are.
I saw it
I
in
was very
IMAX.
excited about that too
Yeah.
at the time.
couldn't
I was
tell you
saying,
anything else about it.
being a kid in the 90s, it's like, oh, this isn't
This is
what I was
good.
expecting in this type of movie.
But I'm
Yeah,
here
right.
for it. you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
All about it. All right, Jacob. Favorite play of the season. Go for the Lions, and then if you got a league one's going to be tough. But if you got a Lions one, go ahead.
Yeah, I've got one for each. So the Lions, for me, it's hard to pick just one play, but I went with Jahmyr Gibbs' 69-yard rushing touchdown the first play of overtime against the Giants. Just that was a game where nothing seemed to be going right. It was like, man, we've got to make something happen, and then just right away. That was an awesome play, much needed win. So that was one I went with for the Lions. I've got 2 plays for the league. I'm only going to say one right now. I'll mention the other one if nobody else does. And Morgan mentioned this one like right away. I was like, damn, he already said it. But it was Monday Night Football, I believe, and it was the Jaguars upsetting the Chiefs. And that play where Trevor Lawrence fell down, he tries to get back up. He keeps he's falling down, and then he finally gets back up, and he still rushes for a touchdown. That play was awesome. It was hilarious, and it was awesome. Good to see the Chiefs lose. So
I like it.
Yep. This
That-
round's about to be
that's-
fast, man, because me and Jacob see football somewhat similar then, because I too had the Jahmyr touchdown in overtime because that game was stressful for no reason. The Giants pulled all the rabbits out of their hats, and we got that cool picture of where Jahmyr had kind of just started for the boundary. Like he was getting wide to turn up field, and Panay already had his hands up. I'm like, oh, that's how you know you're fast, is when your linemen are like, yeah, I think that's a touchdown, even though he's about 70 yards away right now. So, and then, yeah, the T-Law score, just because, again, that was a fun game to watch. And you could see, we've all played sports, and you've all, just, if you've had that moment where it's like, oh my God, you took the snap and all of a sudden you're looking at the sky and you're like, this is about to be really bad. And then you get up and you're still able to score. So I just hearing him talk about that, not in front of a microphone, with having a beer with Trevor Lawrence. I don't know if he drinks, but that'd be funny. That'd be a funny story, because I'm like, tell me what went on between your ears there. So yeah, great picks, Jacob.
yes,
That's awesome. Go ahead, Miko.
Yeah, so for the Lions one, I'm going to go the week 9 touchdown catch from Jameson Williams against the Vikings. I still can't believe that JMO stayed in. Everything about that play was great. It's a great delivery from Goff. It's a great, get up there, bring it down from JMO. And then I think that play highlights Jameson Williams' growth, that we've seen over the last couple of years, because this isn't just he can catch and walk it into the touchdown. He still kind of has to make a play, stay in bounds, dives for the end zone, gets in, and it was great. Obviously, they still end up losing that game, but it was that moment was just so electric at the time. So I'm gonna go with that play for the Lions, and I'm gonna make this a three-peat with the Trevor Lawrence thing, just because that play was ridiculous in the sense of that doesn't usually happen in the NFL. It usually turns out in a way where that's a sack, it's a fumble. And I'm also going with this play because I don't want to pick any of the things that the Bears did, because there's a number of things where if I was an objective fan with zero emotion,
the DJ Moore touchdown, bro. Yeah. That was a crazy throw. I know we hate them, but man, that was a crazy throw, crazy moment.
But I can't.
Cool.
I'm sorry.
I already picked Manungai. You picked the Bears one time. That's it. We've met our quota.
Yeah, one is enough.
Yeah.
That's hilarious because in the league stuff, that's exactly where I was going. Amico, you and I was like, I could not pick a Bears play, even though if I was a Bears fan, there'd be like 4 or 5 plays that I would just say, yep, well, those are the play of the year for both us and the league. But I'm not going to pick a Bears one. You guys are right with the Trevor Lawrence thing. The thing is, like, I've watched it so many times. It's like it's in slow mo. Like, and then you see Chris Jones just like thinking the play's over, and he's just walking, and he looks like what happened. And the thing is that like it's not like Trevor Lawrence instantly got up. It's like he tried to get up 3 times
Yeah.
and he just couldn't. And he still somehow got a touchdown and he beat the Chiefs, which makes it that much sweeter. I mean, he's beating the Chiefs.
Mhm.
I love it. I'm all for that. I think Gibbs OT. Morgan, were you at the game? Were
Oh,
you
yeah.
at that Giants game?
And that was
So
in
he
our
ran towards your end zone, right?
to our
Like
end
the
zone.
other
Yeah,
side, but he
man.
ran towards your end zone. Yeah, he was running away from me, but I had a great view. You know, when you're behind it, you could really see. You're like,
Yep.
oh, he's
Really
gone.
at either end, you see it so quickly. And I throw I'm like Panay sometimes on Jameer throws or Jameer
Yeah.
like scores. Like my hands are up early. Like
hmm Yeah,
Mhm.
obscenely
that's one
early.
thing I do like about
Jimbo
sitting in
too.
our seats in the end zone is that you could see a lot the way it develops
Yeah.
really quickly, and you see things before anybody else sees it. But I will say I'm going to give a shout out for the Tesla's first TD catch because that I still don't know how he
That
made
was
that catch.
that was
It's
wild
week
too.
1, we lost the game, so that brings it down a notch for me. But for that to be your first catch ever in the NFL, and then like having the preseason that he had, we were just like, oh my god, this is it. We've got our guy. Now it was slow moving for a while, but he did pick up towards the end of the season. So hopefully that leads into next year. But that first catch, and then week 2, was it week 2 versus the Bears? He had that catch right before halftime, right? Morgan. It was like that
Yeah.
catch right.
The touchdown.
They originally ruled him out, but then they went back and we got an extra play out of it, whatever. But that
Oh,
was
yes.
a crazy catch too.
Mm.
But yeah, the first one that he caught with the touchdown, that was sweet. And then the last touchdown he caught, was that the Steelers game where he just got pummeled in the end zone? That was a great catch too. But the first one's the winner for me. All right. This we went from Titanic to Jacob's second favorite movie, the Nobody Puts Baby in the Corner Award for the player or team that you thought was washed up but proved everyone wrong. We're gonna start with you, Miko. Lions, and then if you got a league one.
Yeah, so for the player that we all thought was washed, I'm gonna go with that's a good one because I think for the Lions, like there's again, it was such a rough season that like it's really hard to look at anyone and being like, oh, like they didn't quite live up to expectations or someone that you thought maybe wasn't going to be all that great. I guess I'll say Aiden Hutchinson just because like obviously like coming back from a broken leg, I don't know if anyone necessarily thought second team all pro and 14 and a half sacks, right? Like I think we all thought it would probably still be like a slow build up to Hutch getting back to form. And it apparently didn't take that long. And he was able to kind of be that enforcer for this defense. Still had a couple games in the middle of the season that were kind of like he had a couple of games where he just wasn't able to register a sack and things like that. But in terms of like surpassing expectation and looking at what you probably like were trying to be modest with what you thought Hutch was going to do in his first year back, like he definitely exceeded things in that sense. And then as far as the league goes, man, there's a number of teams and another number of players that I think like definitely overachieved and kind of, you know, put a lot of things to bed, but I am going to go with Sam Darnold in this one because I think once again, the expectations of going from Kevin O'Connell to now you're going to I want to say it's Mike McDonald is the name of the Seahawks head coach. I could be wrong though.
Yep.
No, you're right.
But yeah, like I mean, again, everybody like praises Kevin O'Connell for being like this quarterback whisperer, which he should be absolutely. So like the thought that like oh like Sam Darnold had success here that that success is probably not going to follow him to Seattle. And for once again, we've talked about it a lot so far during this podcast, but like taking your team to the Super Bowl and being a key contributor, like you're not just like a passenger on the ride here. Like you are someone that's absolutely steering the ship that's helping your team get to where they got to. So I'm going to give it to Sam Darnold on this one.
Nice. What you got, Morgan?
I got to repeat award winner, Tom Kennedy again, because I keep thinking like he's going to go away one of these days. and he didn't. He made plays, like I said earlier. So gonna go Tom Kennedy times 2 now, and then I'm gonna say Stafford because everyone was making all that fuss about him being in that weird chamber, and he has the elbow thing. He's had the elbow thing forever. I know that for a fact from inside sources. So yeah, I would say Stafford. I was gonna say the Rams, but that doesn't make sense because they have a pretty young team, outside of a few areas because they've done a good job retooling. So yeah, Stafford.
I like it. I'm going for the Lions. I'm going to go Avante Maddox. I don't think anyone expected him to step in the way he did this year, and he did a good job. Did think he was going to have to put as many snaps in, so I'm going to go with Avante Maddox. And then also for the league, I like the Matthew Stafford one just because he didn't play in training camp, looked like he was washed, not but then have an MVP season. But I'm going to go with a different quarterback, Daniel Jones. I don't think anyone had any expectations for him signing a $14 million deal with the Colts. I know he didn't end well because of the injury, but he was playing with a broken leg for part of the season too, which is crazy. So I'm gonna give Daniel Jones my vote on that one. All right, Jacob, who you got for Lions of the League on this?
Yeah, so for the league, I also went with Daniel Jones. Outcast the Giants. He joined the Vikings for just a few weeks last season, and then he signs a 1-year deal for the Colts with nothing more than just, hey, you know what? A promise that it'll be an open competition with Anthony Richardson. And he wins the starting job, and then, really he goes off, and he was a big key contributor to the Colts team. They start the season 8-2, and, then he gets hurt. He's playing injured, the whole Phillip Rivers debacle happens. The Colts finish 8-9. I think it kind of showed just how valuable that he was to the team. The fact that they just couldn't get it together once he was hurt and when he was out. Also, they gave him a nickname, Indiana Jones, so that goes with the movie theme that we're doing right now. So I think he liked that better than the one in New York. For the Lions, though, I went with Al-Quadin Muhammad just because, for us, we saw glimpses and everything like that, but this is just a role player. We weren't sure that we were going to get anything. We weren't sure he was going to make the team. And, he's got the highest Pro Football Focus grade of his career, top 10 in sacks, top 20 in pressures. He definitely made the most of the opportunity here.
I like it. All right. We're gonna do the next two really quick. So just give us your answers, and because these are just free agent ones, and then we'll hit down to some of these other more interesting categories. So I'm gonna do the Godfather voice, Jacob. I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse. Best free agent signing of the year, both Lions and the league. Jacob, you get to start it out here.
That was Godfather. You sounded like Donald Trump.
Oh man, well, I'm not going there. We are not doing that.
All right, sorry. Real quick, for the league, gotta be Sam Darnold. I don't know. I mean, that's the top of the list. That was the key signing, and he immediately took the Seahawks to the Super Bowl. That was an obvious one for me. Lions, though, I went with DJ Reed. Obviously, we lost out on Carlton Davis. We signed DJ right away, which looked good on paper, and then he really became essential. Rakestraw got hurt again. Terrion got hurt. The secondary, all the issues with the secondary. Had we not signed him, I think things look a lot worse. I know he battled his injuries and everything too, but I went with DJ Reed here.
All right, Miko.
Yeah, I'm gonna second that with the Lions. I think DJ Reed was a big acquisition. Obviously, he didn't play as well down the stretch, but I think people really do forget like those first few weeks before he got hurt. He was playing great, wasn't being targeted a ton, and when he was being targeted, wasn't giving up a ton of receptions. He has that hamstring injury, misses a few weeks, and I don't know if he just wasn't, 100%, or if the fact that, Amik was playing so well on one side and they decided that they were going to target him, or the fact that you did have 2 5'9" corners and teams were like, yeah, we'll target either one of those. But whatever the case may be, down the stretch, it didn't look as great, but I thought DJ still was a great signing for this team. And I think he still will be a great signing for this team going forward. For the league, I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. I had to do some research because I'm like, I don't know of a big name signing off the top of my head of anyone that like seemed like they mattered, to be completely honest. So with that said, there was a name that did pop out to me, and I can't remember at the top of my head. Oh, DeMarcus Lawrence for the Seahawks. Again, another guy that I think we probably all thought was washed. I think, once while he was in Dallas and once Micah Parsons started to kind of ascend, it was like, oh, like yeah, this is Micah's team, and DeMarcus Lawrence kind of got left to the wayside, but then was able to go over to Seattle and be a difference maker over there and really kind of help out that defense. So I'm going to give it to DeMarcus Lawrence on this one.
All right. Morgan.
So yeah, I had DJ Reed or Avonte Maddox written down for the Lions just because. So agreed with Jacob again. Having DJ Reed was huge, and it kind of ties into my point for the free agent for the league. I thought the Patriots were smart to make the move for Carlton Davis. They gave him a nice little bag. Good for Carlton. I really like Carlton Davis. I thought he played excellent for the Lions all of last year and really just missed with that freak, broken jaw injury. But I think the Patriots saw the vision. They're like, all right, we got Gonzalez over there, we got Carlton Davis, and you can work with that. You know what I mean? That's a pretty awesome corner duo. So respect for them getting that done, because it's part of the reason they're playing in the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, 100%. All right. For the Lions, you guys said them all. I'm going to say Roy Lopez is, I like that signing for the Lions. Hopefully we can get him back. And then for the league, I'm going to go with Devontae Adams. Pairing him with Stafford, just like my son had Kyron Williams on his fantasy team, and he was so pissed because every time they get down to the one, they didn't run Kyron Williams. They just threw a fade to Devontae Adams, and it was automatic. And so it was a running joke between my son and I about, they're going to throw it to Devontae Adams. Pairing him with Stafford was genius, especially when you got Puka Nacua over there. So I'm going to go with that one for best free agents. All right. For the Show Me the Money Award, the worst free agent signing. So the guys that just took the money. Go with you, Morgan. First Lions, and then if you got someone for the league.
Worst, man, that's tough. I don't have I'm trying to think of something that really, bringing Davenport back, although it didn't cost them anything. That'd be the argument from the pro Lions standpoint of this. They'd be like, well, it cost them. I can't remember looking it up, but with incentives, I think it got up to 1.75, if I'm remembering correctly. So that's probably it, just because it fell pretty short. And then league wise, man, I'm trying to think of someone who got paid and then it didn't really work out. You could probably, it's not a free agent signing, but the Packers trading for Parsons, and then it kind of all blowing up, man. They finished with a half game better record than the Lions did during, the Lions quote unquote down year, in a year the Packers kind of went for it. So that's kind of a cop-out answer, just because I can't think of a free agent signing right now. But does anyone have a good one, league-wide?
I think I do. I think I have the best one. I think I have the best one.
Meko, you go ahead.
Geno Smith is by far the worst free agent signing in the league. I think the Raiders really thought they had something pairing him back up with Pete Carroll. I think, again, with everything that he was doing in Seattle, it's the inverse of Sam Darnold, right? Where everything you saw Sam Darnold doing in Minnesota, you were like, I don't know if that's going to translate. And for some reason, we all thought no, what you saw from Geno is absolutely going to translate over to Oakland or over to Las Vegas. And it didn't. It went New York Jets bad for Geno over with the Raiders. So I think for the league, it's that one. Morgan's right about the Marcus Davenport one, though. I think that's probably the worst signing. And it again, wasn't a ton of money. It was definitely a roll of the dice. There were definitely other re-signings. Pat O'Connor is another one for the Lions that the Lions re-signed. And I don't even think he played a game this season, right? And I think primarily that was due to injury, but it's still one of those things where it's just it was a guy that you were kind of hoping oh, this will make our defensive line more versatile. So I think either of those two guys for the Lions is a reasonable answer.
Yeah. What you got, Jacob?
Yeah, it was hard to pick one for the Lions. I was kind of thinking maybe you could say Levi, but just because of the injury, the fact that he never played, and it was kind of something predetermined. Yeah, it was hard for me to pick one for the Lions. But then as far as the league goes, I went with Justin Fields. Just because it was, he may not have signed a record-breaking contract, but, the Jets, AG thought that they were going to be able to get enough out of him to warrant paying him $20 million, Aaron Rodgers signed for 13. Daniel Jones signed for 14. There's other quarterbacks out there that they could have, cut some costs and done better. It just didn't pan out for him there.
Yeah, Justin Fields is number one, 30 million guaranteed, and they're paying Aaron Rodgers, I think, they like dead money still is like 30 million. The Jets are paying bad quarterbacks a lot of money, which is terrible. I will say another quarterback that probably deserves to be on there is Russell Wilson. Go to the Giants. Like, I don't know how he just keeps getting a job. He has been checked out ever since he left Seattle. He's been, and you could even argue at the end of Seattle, he was checked out, but he just I just don't know how you follow that guy as a leader and a quarterback. I mean, he was great with early in Seattle. Don't want to ever take that away from him, but since he left Seattle, uh, he just seems like he's a shell of what he was. Um, Russell Wilson in there, but let's throw some shade at the Packers. Aaron Banks, the guard they signed, they gave him a lot of money. He was injured a lot of the year, so anytime we could shade out the Packers, we should do that. And so I'm going to do that right now. All right.
I'm actually going to
Next
backpedal my
one.
answer really quick because I didn't
Yeah.
realize that. I think that
Yeah.
that Geno wasn't a signing. I think they traded for Geno.
Yeah, they gave I think it was a trade, and I would say that Chip Kelly was, I think, terrible offensive coordinator. And from
Yeah.
what I heard, and I don't know if this is a rumor, that Chip Kelly was calling plays like that they didn't even install, and so I
That's
mean it put
hilarious.
Geno like in a like a really bad spot. So I think Geno got screwed over, but yeah.
Yeah. So, but I'll just say this really quickly. I'll take back Geno as the worst signing, but I'm sticking with the same team. Amari Cooper going back to the Raiders for like all of 24 hours.
Yeah, right.
Is also like one of the worst signings. Like, could you imagine if like the year after Calvin like had decided to retire, he came back, was like, you know what, I think I am gonna play. And then like 24 hours later, like, you know what? Nah, I actually can't. I don't wanna.
He steps back in the locker room and he's like, "Oh no, I can't do this again." That's
Yeah.
exactly what happened. Mark Davis came down and he was like, "Oh God, I'm not doing this." All right, let's do. I'm gonna skip a couple here. I am gonna give it to the Freddy Krueger Award for the nightmare NFL story or situation that kept you up at night, both the Lions and a league. I'll start with you, Jacob, on this one.
I don't have a league one that would have kept me up at night or bothered me, but for the Lions, I'm definitely going to go with just Kirby Joseph in the knee injury and just the everyday wondering what's going on. Is he going to play? Is he, are we going to put him on IR? Is this going to be a long-term thing? And just continuously not getting answers and not knowing. And, as it turns out, it doesn't look like Kirby even knew, right? Like nobody knows. They're just taking it day by day. And they really did hold out hope that he was going to be able to come back pretty much every week. So yeah, that was my nightmare situation.
All right, Morgan, what you got?
It's almost one and the same for me. Just the Bears like continuing to win like that, kept it wasn't even like more of a nightmare. It was like more of like I was just getting angry at my dreams. I'm like, what is this? You guys got to be like the Packers completely just defecating on themselves in 2 of their 3 games with the Bears. Just, you know what I mean? Like they do that. They lose those 2 games. They got the same record as the Lions. That's how fringe their season was. You know what I mean? So respect, but also disrespect. So I guess I've been speaking out of both sides of my mouth there. So, but yeah, it's really one and the same for me. It was the Bears situation, and then and I do like the Kirby Joseph pick, Jason, because that was. I hope we get some clarity there, and I hope like we're all good by the time training camp rolls around because it's my dog, man. I hope Kirby's good. I have a good feeling about BB. So because he's young, he's not a huge guy. I think he could be back pretty sooner than people think, but that's just my hunch.
Yeah, what you got, Meko?
Yeah, I'm gonna they're basically the same as Jacob's one for the Lions, which I'm going to like expand it to the entire team. Like all the injuries that were piling up was literally like a nightmare scenario playing out once again, and it was a nightmare because again, it's what we saw last year, and you're just like, I think Morgan and I said this even leading up to the season, like 15-2 wasn't going to be possible like 2 years in a row, and it definitely wasn't going to be possible battling injury at the same time. So the minute the injury started piling up, it was almost like writing on the wall where it's like this team isn't going to be able to really make a push come postseason time. And I think for anybody that was watching the podcast, like once we got to like week 13, 14, I was starting to like question, like, do you even want to get in the playoffs? Because this team doesn't look like they would hang with anyone once they got there. And then, the league one was the Bears. Because, like, while you're suffering and literally, like, falling to the bottom of your division, here is this team that is winning in ways that, like, again, like I said earlier, a win is a win. But at the same time, as a division opponent, like, you can't respect the way that this team is winning because it's fluky as hell. Like, so many of those wins could have just as easily been losses. And so it's one of those things where it's just like, it was a nightmare scenario over and over and over again where, again, I think by the end of the season, it's like, what if the Bears get to the Super Bowl this way? Like, what if this is literally how their entire season plays out? And fortunately, like, the Matthew Stafford did us all a favor and was able to put the Bears out of their misery. But like, it didn't look great for a while.
Yeah.
No, the nightmare is fourth down when the Bears, Caleb Williams just chucks it up and Cole Kmet's open the back of the end zone. I was like, is this really freaking happening again? Like, what is going on? What football gods did they pray to? I need to know.
Yeah. Oh, that was, that was coupled after the 4th and 7, toss that Caleb.
Dude,
he throws for 50% in a game, and he just makes these crazy throws that are just like, people forget about everything else.
Yep.
All the interceptions he throws or the bad throws or holding the ball too long. And, those will be what they hold on. I'm so glad that they lost that game after that. So, especially after he lost with an interception. All right. For me, with the nightmare situation for the Lions, it's like constantly giving up 3rd and long. Like, we get to 3rd and long, and I'm like, I was still scared. We get to 3rd and 10, we should be happy. We should be like, all right, especially that Giants game, Morgan. I'm sitting there, I'm like, how are they going to blow this one? Oh, they're going to throw it up to Jameis Winston, right? And then he's going to stiff arm Derek Barnes to the ground and score a touchdown. That's exactly how I pictured this going. So 3rd and long, especially the second half of the season, nightmare, just embarrassing. It was, Morgan, it was so hard to cheer in the stadium, like get up for 3rd down, because you knew that they were just going to blow it. And you could just feel the crowd deflate after they give up 2 of those. Then it's over. Then the crowd just doesn't want to get into it.
Oh yeah.
As far as the league, the Bears are the correct answer. But I will tell you 2 other close seconds is just the whole ref situation, constantly missing calls, not just for the Lions, just in the league. Like, just it was bad. And especially now that they've had this whole gambling angle, that it's so easy to gamble. Like, I don't necessarily believe that the refs are in on that, but it fuels that story, and I don't like that, and it shouldn't be even in the storyline. But some of the calls are so bad that you have to wonder, like, how could they miss that? Some even offsides calls. There was an offsides in the Packers Steelers game that is still so bad. I just don't know how they miss it. But the other close one that I have is the Rams getting close to another Super Bowl before the Lions get there after the Goff and Stafford trade. I was dreading that, and them even getting to the Super Bowl, because then I would be like, stomach would be hurting. I'd be nervous, and I'm so glad that I could watch the Super Bowl and not be nervous. All right, we are going to jump to the Lions only section because this is going long, and I know our guests are going to go. So we are going to, these are just Lions only questions. So the first one is the we kicked its ass award for the best overall team win. In your opinion, we'll go with you, Meko. Which game was you think was the best overall team win? Which is different than favorite win of the season.
Yeah, I think this one would probably still be one of the same for me, but I'm going to go week 3 against the Baltimore Ravens. I think that was a game that I know for a fact, like the majority of our staff, if not everyone on staff, picked the Lions to lose that game. And it was just played beautifully. Like, not just like, obviously David Montgomery had a fantastic game, but like, I still think it was probably Kelvin Shepard's best coach game defensively, where like he really found ways of frustrating Lamar Jackson. They found ways of containing Derrick Henry. And it was just like an all-around complete game. That final score doesn't make it seem like it was as one-sided as it was, but like you go back and watch that game, and like the Lions kind of dictated everything that was happening in it. So yeah, that one by far is my best overall team win for them.
Nice. Jacob, what you got?
So I actually went with the game against the Buccaneers. I felt like that was just a good team win. A lot of complimentary football, which we didn't see a whole lot of. There was too many mistakes being made. We had turnovers and everything in this game too, but this also was one where it was like, it just felt like we had the Buccaneers number the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Morgan?
I like that pick, Jacob. The Legion of Whom game. That was funny when they were saying that.
Yeah, right.
That was good. I'm going to stick with Meko just because the Baltimore game was just comprehensive. Like that play Jack Campbell made is burned into my mind where he it's fourth down in the low red for Baltimore, and Jack not only gets the sack, but he's has the wherewithal to paw at that football that Lamar's holding out there, and he gets it out. And I'm like, oh, Jack Campbell is feeling himself doing going after the ball with Lamar Jackson in open space. So that game was mine because top to bottom, just such a great win and on a big stage. And if you remember how they iced it, didn't they? It was that wheel route to Amon-Ra that Goff dropped into the bucket that basically allowed them to kill the clock and not punt it back to Lamar. So awesome game, man.
Yeah, I like that game. I'm going with the Lions over the Cowboys. Cowboys were coming in hot, thinking that they were, they had just made the Quinn Williams trade, thinking they were going to make that. The Lions actually, if you remember that, our defense actually played pretty well. The Cowboys had one of the top, I don't know if they had the top at the time, but they were up there top 5 offense at the time. And I think our defense played really well. And, at that point, the way I felt at that point, I was like, oh, this could be our playoff push. We just took out, we had just come off the Packers loss. We took out another good team. Maybe this will propel it. It didn't work out that way, but that was my favorite win of the season. All right, the next award is the Marvel's Daredevil Award for the refs must be blind moment of the season when it comes to the Lions. Morgan, we're gonna start with you. You got a moment where the refs had to be blind in the game?
Man, the false start timeout debacle against the Packers where that ticked me off, man, because then LaFleur had that stupid smirk on his little face where he's like, what do you mean? I got that timeout in. But very clearly it shows on the replay even that that was not the case. And that was they ended up scoring right after that. So yeah, that was trash, man, because then the pool reporters too stood on their business. They're like, oh no, we were good. No, you made a mistake, stupid. I'm sick of those old guys messing up, man. We gotta fix that. So that's mine there, but it still makes me mad.
Remember though, Roger Goodell said the refs are incredible, and he's amazed at how great they are. And never, what do you say? Never better. I don't think they've ever been better,
man.
Right?
That, man.
What are you watching, man?
Mm-hmm. Politics, man. All right, Meko, what you got for the refs must be blind?
So I'm gonna need some help with this one because I was gonna go with Morgan's, but I'm not even gonna say that's blind because that's them seeing things that just didn't happen. That's make believe. You were high on something to think that you saw him call a timeout. I'm gonna need some help, but I can't remember which game it was. But there was a game where I think the Lions were going for it on 4th down, and they would have converted, and they called a false start that never happened.
Oh, that was
it was literally.
It was the center who moved the ball. They said Kingsley moved the ball, but he didn't. He was putting.
And they showed the replay, and it is blatantly obvious nobody's moving, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's where the fault." It is wild to be.
I'm pretty sure that was the Christmas Day Vikings.
I think
game.
so too. Yeah, because it was.
I do think it was the Vikings game. Yeah, bro.
I try to block that out.
I know, me too, Jacob. Me too.
Yeah, that was not
because
no, it wasn't, dude.
Yeah, because the LaFleur one is annoying because your eyes tell you one thing and the refs are trying to tell you something else. I everybody was confused as hell on this false start that was nobody's moving. Not even anybody on the defense where you could be maybe they called it on this guy instead and they
nope.
Completely made up call.
Yeah, man, that was a good one. That's good call.
Jacob, I think you and I might have the same one. I'll let you go first, though.
The one that I actually have two, but the one that I think is the worst is the Rams Parkinson touchdown.
Yes.
Like, what do you mean he's in the end zone? Like, it's always bad. Like, this stuff happens to us all the time. It's always bad when it's like it hits national media, though, right? And then you start seeing it going on Twitter, and then you're just like, okay, yeah, I'm not just some crazy angry Lions fan. Like, everybody knows, like, this is bullcrap. Like, what do you mean? You've got it slowed down. You've got all the angles that you need. How? How is that a touchdown?
The thing that killed me is the explanation where they're like, oh, it like I feel like in their explanation they admitted that it probably came out of his hands, but somehow bounced back into his stomach. And I'm like, so it touched the ground, is what you're telling me. Like,
Right.
Where did it
right.
bounce
What do you
off
mean?
of? Oh,
Yeah,
dude,
exactly.
yeah. That one had me hot.
That's my play too, is because like the long explanation with like, oh, he lost possession, but then gained it in the end zone long enough for them to get possession before he got out of bounds. And then meanwhile, he's on the ground and he gets kicked out and he loses possession as soon as he hits the sideline. This is like a week after the Isaiah Lively thing where he has the ball for 2 steps in the end zone and they still rule that incomplete. Like the thing that really pisses me off about the Parkinson thing is that it went to review. Like it wasn't like not only did they call it that way on the field, but then they looked at it on the tape and they still said like it's unfathomable, and that's the refs had to be blind in that game. But the fact that we could have a category that we're picking and choosing which one this, because we could also say the Tesla pick play and the Pittsburgh one.
Dude.
that was my second one.
Yeah. And I will also say that this isn't a ref is a blind moment, but also in that Pittsburgh game, Morgan, if you were at that game, you know the ref says, we rule it a touchdown, and then the crowd just goes
dude.
crazy. Like they incense the crowd. I had to tell people in my section that we lost. There were
Yep.
people shaking, high fiving, and I'm like, dude, we lost this game. But that was just like there's a ref is dumb moment, not a ref is blind moment.
I got so like there was this kid was so annoying. He wasn't our normal person in his seat, but just this big guy saying stupid stuff the whole game, and a younger kid too. I'm like, bro, but he was trying to tell me what was happening at the end of the game. I was like, it's about to be a 10-second runoff, or we're going to lose this game. I'm telling you that right now, unfortunately, because at that point I was pretty aggravated just with the whole sequence of events. And he was like, okay, bro, we'll see. And then the ref made his little, had his little monologue where the crowd went up and then down and angry. And I turned around and I was like, what were you saying?
Enforcer.
What
There
were you
it
saying?
is. There's the man.
He was gone though with his little girlfriend at that point. And I was like, yeah, little buddy, because come on, man. Like we knew it. I'm glad you knew too, Jason, because I quickly did the math and looked down at one of my boys who's like in the know too, and he was like gave a sad face.
Yeah, as soon as the pass interference happened, I was like, "There's nothing we could do. This game's over. I don't care." And that sucked because that golf ran that in. That's the crazy thing, is that it took away like an awesome, just like that would have been an awesome ending,
Right. An all-time play by Goff.
Yeah,
And Amon Ra.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the flip, and then oh god, yeah. All right. This is from one of Jacob and I's, and probably you guys' two favorite movie from Sandlot, the Benny the Jet. He's just obviously the best player on the baseball field, but the best player on the field for the Lions, offense and defense. Start with you, Jacob. Who you got?
Offense, I went with Penei Sewell, and defense, I went with Jack Campbell.
Nice, good call, Morgan.
Once again, Jacob being a ball knower. That's where I'm going, man. That's the two first team All Pros. So, and I'm always going to pick Penei. You guys, if anyone knows anything about my online presence, I'm a commander in the Sewell Legions. So, but yeah, I agreed. Meko, I'm interested to hear. I feel like you're going to say Jack for defense, but you might pick something different for offense.
Yeah, no, it's Jack for sure for defense, but for me, it's going to be Ja. I think Ja had like an incredible season, and obviously things kind of went off the rails a little bit near the end of the season with the offensive line, not playing at its usual expectations. But like there was a stretch, and that's at the point in the season where we were all talking about like Ja might be offensive player of the year. Like that's just how dynamic he was. So yeah, I'm gonna give him his flowers for this one.
I like it. I'm sticking with you on the offensive end. Uh, Gibbs was just the best player on the field for a lot of the snaps that he was on, and game changer. And the fact that his difference this year is that they were using him so much in the passing game, and I'm hoping that that just keeps going. If we could just find a way to get him more space. But the problem is the defense keys on him, and it's really, really tough to create that. But hopefully, Petsy can come in and do something amazing because I'd love to, just get him in space in the passing game. Defense, I'm just up. Hutch, the guy gets commands so much attention, but yet is still so productive. And we've already said he come off the injury, so I'm gonna go with Hutch. I was very happy with the way he played this year. Um, if Garrett didn't have the all-world season, then Hutch is even is a little more in the talk for Defensive Player of the Year. All right, quickly the Hold On to Your Butts award for the favorite game of the season. I think Meko, you've already said this. It'll be this is your Ravens game, correct?
Yeah, it's still my favorite game. It's like, again, my favorite team versus my favorite AFC North team, or my favorite AFC team. So it was fun for that reason as well. But like, it was competitive. It was fun to watch. And yeah, the Lions were able to come out with a win. So yeah, I'm gonna have that one as my favorite game of the season.
You with him on that one, Morgan?
I could easily pick that game, but also just the thumping of the Bears was fun, man. In week 2, that was because once I saw what kind, I was like, oh, like Williams is rattled. This defense can't stop anything. I was like, this is about to be a fun day. And when you realize that early on, especially for like a home game, you're like, let me kick back a little bit here. Let me relax. So that was a fun one.
Yeah, I'm going with the Ravens. I said the Cowboys was the best game I thought they played, but I liked the Ravens, the expectations going in, and Hutch getting that fumble from Henry still is an all-time moment for me and my boys.
Yeah.
Jacob Scott seen the video of me just screaming my head off, and I love that, just the way he came back and fought back into the play and punched that ball out. That was so exciting. Jacob, what you got for your favorite game of the year?
I also went with week 2 against the Bears. Just thrashing a divisional opponent like that, the Ben Johnson stuff, after how week 1 had went. And plus, that's still early on in the season when we still had really high hopes. And, it kind of reiterated the fact that we're a contending team just to be able to blow them out like that. And, once the season went on, we went through the whole win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. Like, we look good, we look bad, we look okay, we look bad. Like, there's so much unknown for pretty much the whole season. This was when, hopes were pretty much at almost an all-time high after that game. So that was my favorite.
Right, we have hit the last award that we're going to get, and it's for one of the best movies. It's but this is a more recent movie, Jacob. It's from the 2000s, so I know you're familiar with this.
How
one.
long
So,
ago, Jason?
From the Dark
if you had to
Knight.
guess, how long ago was this movie? I mean, you said more recent.
This movie, I would say 08 or 09.
It was 08. So you're almost 20 years old.
I'm
good.
I'm good.
Just so you know, when you said recent.
Hey, when you're 45, this is recent. All right, anything from 2000 is recent. All right, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a villain. The award for the person the fan base turned on. Start with you, Morgan, on this. Who did the Lions fan base turn on this year?
I'm gonna go with my guy Graham Glasgow, man. Like, I know he's had some rough moments, like the playoff game against Washington. But he put in some dark years here during the Patricia era, like dealt with the whole guard rotation, came back. Like, I like Graham Glasgow, man. He seems like a great guy by all accounts. He's really cool, and like the POD, like chat on Twitch, like he's just a good guy. And people are pretty down on him, and I understand it. Like, obviously, you can improve on that position, but at the same time, like having him as a vet, if he does end up like coming back at a reduced cost or what have you, like it's not the worst thing in the world, because you can having some offensive line depth is good, even if it is a bit more expensive and a bit older, just because injuries happen, unfortunately. Hopefully not in 2026, though. Give us some good luck this next year.
Right. I mean, the plan wasn't always all along that he was going to be center either, right? Like, he kind of just, he was like, wherever you need me, I'd rather be doing it, here instead of getting moved over halfway during the season. Let's just start it off like that. He's down for whatever the team needs. So,
yeah.
All right, Jacob, why don't you keep going?
I went with Brad Holmes. For how high everybody was, it's like, the injuries start happening, things start looking down, then all of a sudden, people are talking about all the mistakes that he made in the draft class from, this year, and taking the chances on the trade into Slaw and, Manu, and like all the different things like that. Just seemed like, the season wasn't going well. People were definitely nitpicking like every bad move or every bad draft pick, I guess, that he's had.
Meko, what you got?
I'm gonna go with Kelvin Shepherd on this one. I think people are very quick to want a coaching change without like giving the proper like credit or recognition to the fact that like the dude lost pieces. Like in the first year as being a defensive coordinator, lost big time pieces. Like we're not talking about rotational guys. Like you lost an all pro safety, a Pro Bowl caliber safety. You lost a starting corner. You lost another starting corner for a length of time. Like you didn't get one of your defensive tackles back until the middle of the season, and that guy still needed like a period to ramp up. One of your defensive ends that you expected to at least, I wouldn't even say expected, but I'm sure as a coaching staff expected to contribute some more, had the same reruns that he kind of has had the last couple seasons. Like Shep, I still have so much faith in Shep, and I still think it's a great hire. And I look at what he was able to do, like I said, against Baltimore. I think in the Cowboys game, in like games where like they had to deal with mobile quarterbacks, except for the JJ McCarthy game, like Detroit was ready in a way that we just hadn't seen them be prepared in those types of ways. And I still feel like you give him his full deck of cards, you add a couple pieces, and I think Shep is going to continue to like get better as a defensive coordinator. The fact that people were so quick, like once the season ended, to be like, that's the guy that has to get out was wild to me, considering like the number of games where they did have good performances. I'm not saying it was great, but there are way more like legitimate complaints or legitimate reasons to why the defense didn't play well in comparison to when the offense wasn't playing well. Like there wasn't a whole lot. Like yes, you lost Sam. Yes, there were some offensive line issues, but like this offense still functioned at a high rate for like no matter whether it was Dan or John Morgan calling plays. Like they were still a top rated defense. Or I mean offense. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm gonna stick with Jacob on this one. Brad Holmes, just you could tell when people are just disappointed in the season because they start like having crazy theories. And I know some of the stuff comes out as clickbait, right? Some of the publications want to do that stuff, but there are people that legitimately think that he's a bad GM and they want someone else in here. And I don't. Is he perfect? No, but no one is perfect, and you are going to get worse with 95% of the hires that you would bring in, and the fact that him and Dan work so well together, just you could tear down that part of the team too. So I don't get it. The whole Brad Holmes thing. The Shep is a great answer though, Miko, because uh, I want we don't give enough time for people to learn in this league. You don't. You got to win right
Mhm.
away or you're out. And I just think that you some of these guys you just got to give them some time. Now I hope that Shep was given a bad deal with like the injuries at the back end that really hamstrung what he had to do. I want him to be more flexible with this stuff, you know, but maybe that
Mhm.
was just the injuries but also he could learn year two coming in. He's going to have this full off season and hopefully we can get some pieces that he wants in there too. Cause we stuck with Davenport. We stuck with all these guys. We're going to see. A lot of those were AG guys. We'll see if he gets any say coming into this next year. But
Well, and
we
you get
went
a lot
long,
of people
guys.
that
Oh, go ahead.
you
Sorry.
I was
Go
gonna
ahead,
say
Miko.
with I just yeah, a quick comment on the Shep and the Brad Holmes thing. I think when you talk about Shep,
Yeah.
people are quick to point to what the Eagles did, where they're like, "Oh, well, they fired their offensive and defensive coordinator and started over." Yeah, because they knew that they had the talent, and the talent wasn't playing up to the expectation that they had as a team. Like you have a situation with Shep where you are literally going to your practice squad, signing guys off the street to plug holes into your defense. And like I said earlier, 15-2 season does not count. You cannot hold that season up as we'll see. We did it here because that still failed you once you got to the postseason. Like it wasn't sustainable long term. It never was. And I think with the Brad Holmes stuff, I will say this. I think the criticism that Brad Holmes is getting is justified. And Morgan and I have talked about this, and I think we've talked about this on the main podcast as well. I do think the Lions were guilty. The Lions front office was guilty for getting a little too complacent, where they thought they could have the luxury of taking a couple of gambles in the draft when they really should have just continued to stockpile top tier talent. I do not think that they were at the stage where you can really afford to take a Hendon Hooker in the third round, where you could take a Broderick Martin in the third round, where you can take a Giovanni Manu, when you should have been doing what the Philadelphia Eagles type of organization was doing, where you're just continuing to stack talent and figure out the playing stuff later. Trade pieces if you have to, but you should be getting bona fide talent. And I think that's the stuff that Brad Holmes is being criticized on, and he should be. And I think it's one of the things to keep an eye on this draft class, because is he going to be more aggressive? Is he going, well, not even is he, he has to. They have way more holes on this roster now that you have to plug, and they're going to have to do it via the draft.
Yep. I expect him to look at some trade down scenarios if he's got his eyes on to stockpile some picks up. And I agree with you. And I don't think that he's been a perfect GM, but I think he got a little too complacent going into this year, thinking, we're just going to be able to plug these players, Tate in here, Graham here, and then, Hank Fraley's going to coach him up and we're going to be fine. I hope that this season was, a little bit of a wake up call. I know we were 9-8. I mean, I know everyone's like, you're in fourth place, you're in last place. Comparatively speaking, you go to the NFC South, we'd have won that division. So it's not as bad as it seems. I'll take the fourth place schedule next year, though. I mean, I'm happy about that. So I just hope it's a wake up call. I think it's kind of like getting your punch. It's like that Ravens game a few years ago. You just got punched in the face, and then woke you up. This is a season a wake up job where we just couldn't put it together, and hopefully it wakes up everybody from the top down, and we can move forward. I expect a really good season coming up, but it's going to be an interesting offseason. We're going to have a ton of things to talk about.
Brad Holmes might not do himself any favors if we keep, building the same way, doing the same stuff. I mean, it's the project players, I think, are the main concern, right? Like, if you draft somebody in round 6 or round 7, that's a project. Like, okay, you can kind of live with that. But when you draft them in round 3, or you trade up for Tesla, or you do the stuff you did to get Manu, like, I mean, was Manu somebody that was like, we absolutely have to have this person, we need to get this guy on the team? Or, I mean, obviously now you got hindsight where it's like, you know what, he could have went elsewhere, and it's, there's no sweat. Jury's still out on Tesla. I like what I've seen so far, but I mean, he's always going to have that hanging over his head too, that how much we gave and moved up to get him. And I mean, he was projected to go like round 5, round 6. If we would have lost him to some other team in round 4, is that an absolute like travesty and then you can't recover from it? I think right now you'd rather have those picks. You'd rather have the depth.
Yeah. Yep.
You keep rolling
100%.
the dice and you don't win. I mean, a couple of losses really adds up for you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Absolutely.
I think, yep. All right, guys. Morgan, Meko, what do you guys got going on before we take off here? What do you got going on at POD?
Yeah, obviously every Monday we live stream our main podcast, so you can always catch us over on the YouTube channel as well as our Twitch channel as well. If you guys want to check that out, so that is twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit or youtube.com/Pride of Detroit as well. You could also find me and Morgan. So far, I think we've been recording every Tuesday, putting out content on Wednesday. We're doing a lot more draft content right now. So we've previewed 2 mock drafts. So you can go check out. We previewed Bucky Brooks and Matt Miller's most recent mock draft that they dropped. We did that yesterday. Last week, we looked at Daniel Jeremiah and Mel Kiper Jr.'s. Next week, we are planning to have Eric Schlitt as a guest. So Eric's going to come on. He's going to talk about some of his favorite draft prospects. So you definitely don't want to miss that when we drop that video. So yeah, it's a busy time. Even during the offseason, we somehow find a way to be busy over at Pride of Detroit.
That's good. Always tons of stuff to talk about. And you guys know ball, so you guys always got something going on. And having a guy like Eric Schlitt at your disposal is a pretty nice feather in your cap.
We might just kick our legs up and let Eric talk. Like I'm so serious. I might get a couple questions out and just watch this man be the machine that he is.
Jacob and I had him on, and we were feeling much like today, feeling bad for keeping him on so long. So we apologized. He's like, "No, I'm the one that talks so much." He goes, "It's totally my fault." And so next year with Jacob, or this year when we have him on, at some point we'll just have like 2 or 3, like you said, 2 or 3 questions. Let the man cook and call it a day.
Everybody walks away knowing more football whenever you talk to Eric. Like
Yeah,
it's a known fact.
Right.
and you feel better about the Lions at the same time. He's a wizard.
That too.
Yep. You got anything? You got to write anything, Morgan, or you got anything in coming up, or
Yeah, we're gonna start kicking things up. We have a contact where we can get college all 22 from. So that's nice because it's
Nice.
hard. It's surprisingly hard to unearth that stuff as opposed to like the pro counterpart. So shout out to Meko for that. So we're gonna try to compile some film here soon and put out some content regarding, just some different prospects at like various parts of the draft. So excited.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then having Eric is because Eric's the one who really gets into this, man. Like Jeremy's getting more into it for sure, but the draft is Eric's baby for sure. So it's an exciting time.
Mhm.
April will be here before we know it.
Yep, that'd
Right.
be awesome. So, all right, I appreciate you guys coming on. This has been a long episode, but it was a fun episode. I really appreciate you guys giving us great content. It was fun, and maybe we could do this again over the summer. We'd love to help you guys out at your show if that opportunity comes up. For Meko, Morgan, my man Jacob, I'm Jason. Let's go Lions.